wabarakatuh. My name is Sastri bin Aidil and today I'm your host for our show called Quran and Sunnah Ways of Life. So as you can see, we are here in IIUM Gombak. It's a very beautiful and calm place. And the purpose why we are here is for us to test the understanding of IIUM students about the segment called property ownership. So as for the introduction, the property ownership in Islam has a special form by the help of many negative effects from the capitalistic and semi-capitalistic under the property ownership can be avoided, and personal incentive to economic effort can be maintained to a great extent. So in Islam, there are three basic conditions in property acquiring, which is the first one, it should not invalidate any valid claim. The second one, it should be gained through permissible ways in Islam, and the last one, it should not harm others. So as for today, I will ask a question given to me by the audience to the IIUM student, and we will this one. The question to get clear details of their understanding about Assalamualaikum property ownership.
Waalaikumsalam.
Do you have time?
Yeah, I have time.
Okay, my name is Sastri bin Aidil and we are from the Quran and Sunnah Ways of Life show. So basically, I would like you to give a brief introduction about yourself first before I proceed with the question.
First, my name is Ahmad Hafiz.
Okay.
And I'm studying here in Islamic University of Malaysia and taking the economic subject.
Oh, you are taking
and I'm
economics
from second year, first semester.
Alright.
Okay.
So we received a question from our fan.
Yeah.
The question is that, can you give us an example of Quranic verses regarding to private property ownership?
Oh, actually, brother, you came on the right place and on the right time because
Seriously?
yeah, because I also have studied, just studied about the topic that you asked me.
Okay.
So I'm gonna explain to you.
Alright.
Wait for now, because I want to.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah. Actually, from what you have said just now,
Okay.
there is a verse that explain about the private property. Actually, it is stated in the Quran on the Surah of Al-Hadid, the verse 7. I read it to you. Aminu billahi wa rusulih wa anfiqu mimma ja'alakum mustakhlafina fih fallazina amanu minkum wa anfaqu lahum ajrun kabir. The translation of this verse 7 is that believe in Allah and His Messenger and spend of that whereof He has made you trusty, and such of you as believe and spend there will be a great reward. From what I have read from this tafsir, actually this is the tafsir of Ibn Kathir,
Tafsir Ibn Kathir.
verse 7. The tafsir explain about our Allah has command Allah the Exalted and Blessed or Death having perfect faith to us. Allah have give us the power, the wealth for us to use. From this we can see that the tafsir read that he said that this wealth was in the hand of those before you and was later transferred to you. This means that the property, the harta is transferred to the mankind from long ago, from a long time from the Prophet. And from this tafsir, Ibn Kathir also said that therefore, O mankind, spend as Allah commanded you from the wealth that He entrusted to you for His obedience. This means that we as a Khalifah in this world must take the amanah that Allah has grant us to spend the property, our private property just now you said, into the into the way, into the Islam way, into the correct way, into the Allah way. That's
That is the explanation.
explanation
Thank you,
that I
Brother Hafiz, for
can-
your explanation. Can you elaborate a little bit more in terms of the economic perspective?
Actually, you can ask my friend over here because he also came from same kuliah with
Same
me.
kuliah.
Yeah.
You heard the Quranic verse given by him?
Yes.
Alright. Can you give us a little bit elaboration about the economic perspective regarding to the Quranic verse given just now?
Firstly, I introduce my name. My name is Muhammad Azli. Okay. Apa ni? According to the Quranic verses, basically, property is belong to gods, and as we know, Allah is the true owner and absolute. Human was entrusted by God to use, to utilize, to preserve the all things in the earth as well as possible, include the property, without violating the rules that the God sets. According to in these books, Allah said God give freedom to his people to gain wealth in accordance with the rule of his treasure. One of it is to set aside part of his property to charity due to the purpose to protect us from greed, arrogance, and being wasteful towards nature. Do you know why?
I don't.
Because it stated in the Quran, also in the Hadith, Allah really hates those extravagance and the ones who do not use the property in the way of Allah.
Oh, I see.
In fact, the charity and donation can be also considered as the best investment method because it was guaranteed by Allah, and He will reward us.
With greater benefit.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
from okay. In economics, it seems not have any problem towards the liquidity risk and inflationary. Therefore, performing commands Allah will help us to get His blessings and lead us to other sustenance. I think that's all from the economics.
Can I ask you this? Is it considered as an amanah given to us by Allah?
Yeah.
Meaning the resources.
Yeah, amanah is the light word by to us, but it is the heavy responsible.
Oh, I see.
Then all things in this world Allah give to us to use it to help us, to help others, Muslims, and all people, Muslim or not, or non-Muslim. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you, Brother Azli.
Okay.
Okay, based on the explanation given to us by the two brothers just now, we can see that resources given to us by Allah is an amanah, which is a responsibility for us, that we need to fully utilize it in the term that Allah has ordered us. And he also mentioned that it is some sort of a charity, charity which is the charity that which in term of economic, charity is the best investment for us Muslim, because we are ensured by Allah a gift in Jannah, and also in what Malays call murah rezeki. Rezeki will become improved. So now I will continue with a hadith. Wait, if I can find someone from the students. Okay, the brother. Assalamualaikum, brother.
Waalaikumsalam.
Do you have time?
Yeah, some time.
Okay. Before that, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name first of all, my name is Muhammad Asim bin Osman. I'm second semester year of Economic and Management Sciences, majoring in Islamic Finance.
Okay, for your information, we are from Quranic and Sunnah Ways of Life show. So basically, we receive question from our audience and viewing. And today's question is that, can you give us an example of hadith regarding to private ownership?
Okay, thank you. I have read one hadith, which is, who's farming on someone land without permission, he is not entitled to get any result, and that it is cost free.
Okay.
Yeah, that hadith is was narrated by Ibn Tirmizi and was in the book 14, hadith number 115, Jabir ibn Abdullah.
Can you give us a brief explanation about the bibliography?
Okay, the first is Ibn Tirmizi. Ibn Tirmizi was born in the near the year 210 after Hijrah. He was born in Tunis, now in the southern of Uzbekistan. He was died on 13th Safar 279 after Hijrah in birth. Okay. Basically, Ibn Tirmizi is well versed in Arabic grammar, favoring of school Kufa Abu Basra due to the former preservation of Arabic poetry as a primary source. Okay, next I will give a simple or a little bit explanation or biography of Ibn Jabir bin Abdullah. Okay, Jabir bin Abdullah Al-Ansari was born in Yathrib.
Okay.
Now we all know that is in Madinah, 15 years before Hijrah. He was died on 78 after Hijrah. Okay, Jabir bin Abdullah was well known among the Sahaba because he had for 19 battles, including Badr. Including Badr that was conducted by Prophet Muhammad SAW. And he also was a trusted Sahaba. Besides that, he also one of the member when the president of the conquer Mecca.
I see. Your friend here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, actually I'm from Quranic and Sunnah Ways of Life show. Okay, so just now your friend just gave me a hadith regarding to private ownership.
Okay.
Okay, now you are a student here, right?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Can you give me a little bit of explanation in terms of economic perspective based on the hadith?
Luckily, I'm from economic, kuliah from
Oh
economic.
yeah.
So what hadith did he say?
Okay, the hadith is who's farming on someone else's land without permission, he is not entitled to get any benefit. That is cost free.
Oh, that hadith. Yeah, I know. From Tamizi, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's easy, see. Like okay. So you know, every man has desires, their own desire. It can achieve it, but it has to be according to the Islamic Sharia. Okay. So basically, according to his the hadith, he said, it's like the land exploited should be cultivated, or what they say, if it's cultivated by people without the permission of the art from the owner, it's not fair for them, right? Yeah. So basically, it gives profit for one person and loss for another party. So it's not fair for both the parties.
Okay.
So for like example, the farmer and the owner. Okay. So the farmer, if he cultivates the land without the permission of the owner, it will the owner wouldn't know. The profit goes to him only, right? So the only solution for this, I think, to overcome this is with the cooperation and justification between these two parties. You know, so one of the solution is like maybe the owner could give rent for the land to the farmer. You know, so the farmer could cultivate the land and make some profit. You know, with it.
Will the profit go to the farmer?
It will go to the farmer because he pays rent to the owners.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So another solution it could be like they could agreement between like when the farmer just and the end result of the land, like they get some profit. They could have agreement of how many percentage of profits between them, between the owner and the farmer. You know, you get what I mean? Yeah. So basically, this hadith talks about cultivating someone's land, but with the permission of the owner. If you do it without the permission without the owner, it's like you're going against the Sharia, the Islamic Sharia.
Can I ask you this? Is it the same as one of the Islamic financial system in which where a person who owns a money, he hired someone to use his money to expand it?
No, this to be this is
the same as like wakala. You know wakala?
Oh, Wakala, yes.
Yeah, it's like agency. You know, you appoint someone and they get some amount of fee to do what for you. You know, so it's like going to wakala model.
Okay, so thanks for your explanation.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks for your time. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
So, based on the answers given by them, you can see that IIUM students clearly understand when it comes to hadith and the Quranic verse. So, I hope that your question is answered. See you again next week with me, Asri bin Aidil. Assalamualaikum.